when you know something, even if you don't know a lot of it, but nobody else knows nothing, then you're the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
There may be something you know and you are insecure and you think, well, I don't really know it like the experts in the world. But what you didn't calibrate is that you know more than 99%. Vayner Nation, it is great to see you again. Well, I don't know if I've seen you, but it's great to be heard again. Hope everybody's well. Actually, before we get into this incredible podcast with another great entrepreneur and a motivational story and some insights and entertainment, just take a quick second and let's lean into some gratitude. Feel like people are just too heavy these days, are just deciding to like focus on negativity. So take a deep breath if you're on a treadmill and just be thankful for what you have instead of envying what you don't. Anyway, my friend, with your incredible beard here, why don't you take the next minute or two and tell the Vayner Nation who you are, what you do, and let's get into the show.
Yes. So I am Mark Murrell, founder of Get Maine Lobster and Black Point Seafood, direct-to-consumer lobster business. Been around since 2009. We're right on 48 Union Wharf in Portland, Maine. So it's a ton of fun. We're right there in the middle of it. You know, salty lobstermen come in. We pick the best, put it in a box, and ship to any doorstep in the U.S. And yeah.
It's pretty cool. Actually, I took it off, ironically, to put the fly fish hat on, but I shouldn't. This is for anybody who's watching, this is the Loyal Lobster.
That's right.
This is the Loyal Lobster hat, and we did a collaboration. One of the reasons I wanted Mark here is we did a collaboration for all the Loyal Lobster NFT holders who've been just blown away by your service.
Yeah.
And I do think direct to consumer, and I think live shopping is a big trend. And I think, you know, again, everybody's infatuated with the Bitcoin of it all, the Snapchat of it all, but 99.9% of businesses are analog or different, like, you know, just something that I think will resonate with a lot of people here. And so I want to dig into this journey because direct to consumer seafood,
Yeah.
that's minimally only a 2-decade new phenomenon. It's just not how, I mean, there was some cataloging stuff, but like the internet changed the variables. The way things are done takes the variables. Let's go back to the beginning of it. How did that even start?
Yeah. So I grew up in Maine.
Born and raised.
Not born, but raised.
Born.
I was born in Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. So my mom's from the West Coast. My dad's from Florida.
Okay.
My mom didn't like the South, even though Florida's not really South. My dad got a job in Maine. Moved to Maine when I was 6. Yeah.
What did he do?
He's done a lot of things. He's got like 5 masters, but he ended up being a speech language pathologist.
Good for him.
And my mom ran medical offices.
And so wait, your mom was born and raised where?
Seattle.
And so Florida's weather was just too nice for her?
She didn't like the culture.
Yeah, it was different.
And the weather was hot. I was
Yeah.
born in July in Tampa.
Yeah.
Right? So she was
like,
like,
"Fuck
you know
this
what?
shit."
Let's get out of here.
And so you guys went to what year was this?
Yeah, 1978.
Right, so today, we can agree that Maine is not New York City.
No.
1978, Maine is even more rural.
So when I moved there
Yes.
to Auburn, which is inland 30 miles
Auburn,
from where
Maine.
I live now.
How close is that to Wayne, Maine?
You know Wayne?
I know Wayne, Maine because
I have a lake. I have a house. I have a small little thing on Wayne.
on the lake.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine in college, Pete, who was actually the kid who had the computer that went on the internet for the first time. For my hardcore fans, my famous I Saw the Internet and I Saw the Future. It was on Pete from Wayne, Maine's computer. He was a crafty little white boy basketball player. Big shout out, Pete, if you know the old Mount Ida days. So I know Wayne, Maine. So I'm curious, where's Auburn, Maine
hilarious.
to Wayne, Maine?
Very close.
Cool.
20 minutes.
Love. So I know the area. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So when you moved there in 78.
It was like rural, farm, everything. Now there's like a mall, there's an Applebee's, there's everything, right?
Yes.
But Auburn,
Like how many kids were in your high school?
250.
For the whole high school? Or your class?
My class.
Got it. So it was a regional high school.
We had like 5 towns.
Right. You had a friend that was like 26 minutes away.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I know the game.
And not a lot going on. It's really grown a lot because we have 2 hospitals and lots of lawyers. So doctors and lawyers.
So that's where you grew up. And what kind of childhood did you have? Like sports, books, nerd?
The usual suspects.
Outside, 80s life?
Yeah, football, basketball, baseball, you know, and learned my grit, from there, and
100%.
and how to take a beating.
When you were in high school, what did you think you wanted to be?
A writer.
Interesting. You were good at writing?
Ever since I was a little kid, I loved entertaining and being funny to the crowd, and my parents tell me stories about that. And I still write. I write a lot. I still do some writing for the lobster business. I do most of the writing for it.
So the copy.
Storytelling. I love telling stories.
Good for you.
Yeah.
All right. So you're thinking about being a writer. Then what happens? Did you go to college? Did you not?
I went to college. Did not want to go to college,
Yeah.
but
You're preaching.
yeah, I was like, all right, I'll go. So I went to 2-year school, hospitality, got a degree, and then moved around for 5 years doing this, that, and the other. I went right to Nantucket after college.
That's cool.
And I lived there for 6 months.
Had you ever been there before?
I hadn't.
That must have been an interesting culture.
That was 1992. Went there by myself.
You got to see wealth.
Yes. And I got to serve the wealth.
I get it. Me too.
Yeah.
My whole life, growing up in my daddy's liquor store, I would take out boxes to these Mercedes and BMWs and get a $1 tip, occasionally a $5, which would make me lose my mind. And, it was like, I thought if you owned a Mercedes, that you were the richest person on earth.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. And yeah, it's Nantucket, crazy, crazy wealth, But
aware.
whenever I go, it's one of my favorite places in the world. My shoulders drop. My blood pressure goes down.
Good for you.
I'm just like relaxed.
No, it's a chill place. It's a little different than a vineyard.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Anyway, so you went there after college.
I went there after
got
college.
to see that.
And then I
Caught the hospitality bug or no?
did that for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, you liked
where
it.
I would just do
it's
that.
a great thing to do at that age.
Yeah. Then I went
Met
to Florida,
people.
worked at a hotel, and then went back to Nantucket, and ended up working at the Chicken Box and the Muse. I got a bartending gig at a young age, which just changed everything for me.
Yeah?
Right?
Why?
Just because I had a ton of cash at a very young age,
Yeah.
and a bartender in Nantucket, it's
That's fun.
clout,
Yeah. A little bit of fun.
byproduct,
Yeah.
know. So, and then I moved to Colorado, did a season there.
In Aspen or
Telluride.
Telluride, sure.
Love Telluride.
It's a really
So
cool
I did
place.
that 4 or 5 years until finally I started a gig with my dad. We made T-shirts, tried to sell them, yada, yada, yada.
Were you or dad entrepreneurial?
My dad was.
Yeah.
Yes.
You were less so, you would say.
No, You
had it too?
I was doing stuff at a young age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Selling lollipops or doing some random
Exactly,
shit.
just
Okay, so
random
got it. So
stuff.
that's what led to the T-shirt thing. Go ahead,
Yeah.
keep going.
And so
How did
then,
that go? Disaster?
yeah,
happens.
totally.
Yeah.
I think we still have inventory. This is 1993.
Yeah.
My mom keeps yelling at us.
Well, that was when, like the T-shirt thing was very hot in that era. I was a junior in high school at that point, and I was doing a lot of my businesses, and the life is good, and like don't worry, be happy, and like put a slogan, a tie-dyed, and like there was just fucking T-shirts were flying.
Yeah, we were talking to Peace Frogs,
Mm-hmm.
right? So close, and then I was like, hey, I gotta, season's over, I gotta get out of here, and blah, blah, blah. We just let go of it. Tried to sell them, concerts, things like that.
Okay.
It was a Southwestern motif. My dad was the artist, so it was super cool.
That's rad.
Yeah. And,
So you have a creative family. Dad's an artist. You're
yeah,
you're a
mom's
writer.
a photographer,
Mom's
dad's
a
a photographer.
I've got a whole fucking agency.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not right now.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
And so then it was 1995 where I got a couple buddies in my town that I'm still really good friends with, and we had a couple concepts, and one of them was my buddy's like, hey, I can get this gig for us, but I need you to run it. You lock it down, and then move to Florida, and we're gonna do this thing. He was a day trader, and it was building a platform for this guy to manage his day trading. This is 1995.
Tech.
Yeah, tech.
Early tech.
Yeah. So I go down and do that. I got no money. My buddy's, he's established there. And I drive from Maine in my little Nissan Sentra. And I get there and I'm not feeling
it.
And I have it. And I'm like, I want to start. Like, I want to go. I want to like
How old are you at this point?
25, 6.
Go ahead.
And and then so I took off in the middle of the night. 2 days later, drove back to Maine.
Wow.
said to my dad, hey, I can do this. So when you were talking about Wayne, Maine, the internet, I was on the internet in like 1988, 87.
Because dad?
Because dad.
Right.
I had like 5, 6 computers.
Prodigy.
Yeah.
The early Apple computers.
Commodore 64.
Yeah, remember?
VIC
Oregon
20.
Trail.
Yeah. Yep. I used to put in a little
The
floppy
disc.
and go to
Wheel of Fortune.
everything. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So then I go to my
Prodigy
dad.
was
yeah.
big.
What
Prodigy, remember
Yeah.
that? And then
Yep.
AOL obviously took it up to the moon.
Yep.
Okay.
Netscape. So I go to my dad and say, hey,
Could you code?
I just enough to,
Get by.
do a little bit, but I didn't.
And when you say you had it when you bailed in the middle of the night, what was it? The concept?
Yeah, so I went to my dad. I could build websites. I could build,
Got it. That's
And
what I
then-
thought you were going to say.
and I knew people.
That's
that
huge.
Could, yeah,
We're
and I knew
using
people that could code.
Dreamweaver?
Dreamweaver, and then Adobe.
I'm getting very nerdy.
Adobe
I'm getting
had a
nerdy on you
product.
kids right now.
Yeah.
We're going to our youth right now.
Adobe had a product as well,
Yeah.
and I just knew enough. I knew I could.
In a
do something.
world that no one knew shit.
Nobody had a website, especially
Bingo.
in Maine, right?
Bingo.
So I go, listen, I could do this. He puts up 15
I'm sorry to interrupt.
grand.
This is a commercial interruption. When you know something, even if you don't know a lot of it, but nobody else knows nothing, then you're the smartest person in the room,
Yeah.
right? This is very important for everybody that's listening right now. There may be something you know, and you are insecure, and you think, well, I don't really know it like the experts in the world. But what you didn't calibrate is that you know more than 99%.
Yeah.
Like, for example, right now, I think you all know I'm very hot on social live shopping. A lot of you remember 6 years ago when I was yelling at you to do TikTok. If you know a little advantage, and that's what Mark had, he had the advantage of, I knew how to build websites. Let this be very clear. In 1995, forget about Maine. Most of the world did not know about how to build websites. Sure, Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
sure, pockets of New York, but let there be no confusion. It was early, but everybody knew the internet was coming, and it must have been a hot period. So
Yeah.
you went to dad and said, I got this, give me a couple bucks, or
Yeah.
what?
And an important part of that you reminded me about, so thank you. I was in a coffee shop. I had so much experience. I was doing this just for myself, and I was designing stuff for my family and da 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 da. And so then I read an article about, the internet. I think it's like 1996 or whatever, 1995, 90, something like that. I was like, man, this is a fucking thing. So I walk out of the coffee shop. 2 blocks later, I see a storefront web design shop called Tricycle Media. And I walk in and I go to the founder and I said, I will work for free. I want a key and I want to know everything you know.
Real quick, when you read this article in the coffee shop, when you walked out, had you already known about Tricycle? You'd seen it?
No, the universe just put it there.
Fuck you.
Swear to God.
That's why I'm asking,
Yeah.
because I was like,
It was Congress and State. I was on Congress having coffee, reading the article, and then State is the next one over.
that's insane. That's
Yeah.
out of a fucking movie, you know that.
And then I just go after it and learn everything that I can. And I go out and sell websites, for her.
Are you coding in HTML at this point? Is HTML like
I'm
is it
doing-
.asp?
I only do, like-
.asp.
Yes. Well, if you need some functionality, yeah.
But you're just
Right?
doing the bait. That's
We're
what you
doing-
needed. Again,
Brochure.
you just took the words out of my fucking mouth.
Sorry.
So I won't know. I love you for it. I just wanted all the kids to know, like, literally, you would just have a brochure. Like, you couldn't click anything. You just needed something basic.
Exactly. So then that's where I got a lot of my experience because I had enough to do some damage. And then I says, all right, I got the coder and an illustrator. I'm going to build 3 concepts. So I tell my dad, here's the 3 concepts, right? 1 is a dating site. 2 is a wedding concepts planner site. And the 3rd is a portfolio site for artists that can't afford to have an instance online. They can have a piece of real estate here, 1 page, 2 page, whatever they want, something, right? And he's like, cool, forked up 15 grand,
Wow.
bought some stuff.
Dad came through.
Dad
Dad's
really came
alive?
through. Dad is alive.
What's his name?
Richard.
Big shout out, Richard.
He's going to love that.
Big shout out, Richard. Honestly, look, when a parent can do that for a kid, did you borrow the money and said you were going to pay him back? Or did
No,
was he
we were
like,
partners,
oh, even better.
Yeah.
Even better.
but we failed, but
Well,
that's
failing
all right.
happens.
You
Go
know,
ahead.
and
Why did you fail? Let's teach kids.
I think timing, right?
Okay.
So We were a little bit ahead. So the Wedding Concepts was weddingconcepts.com. I let go of the domain.
Later became the Knot.
You know,
Yeah, no.
so it
are
really,
you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Do I know? I grew up with you in that era. I
Yeah.
watched thing after thing be too early, and then the thing. I mean, Tinder was an idea me and my brother had. We called it Booty Call.
Yeah.
And it would only work from midnight.
Ours was pickle jar.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a pickle jar. I mean,
Swear to God.
it was just what was happening back then. But this speaks to, actually, at this point with a successful business now, and you're being very amazing to this audience talking about failures. How much do you now believe in execution over idea?
It's everything, right? Because I had a brilliant idea so for a minute, when I was in Chicago, I was actually a consultant.
Oh boy.
Right?
I like how you did the suit.
Yeah.
If you're watching at home, you can't see this because if you're listening, he just took both hands and put it down his whole chest. And I knew what he meant. He was wearing the fucking suit for a few seconds in Chicago.
Yeah.
That clearly didn't last.
No.
You're way too creative for that.
For one of my first meetings, after that, she's like, "You wear flip-flops to all your meetings?"
Oh, wow. You were really bringing that fucking Maine DNA, huh?
Well, so my goal in life is to be barefoot.
I love it.
So I hate wearing socks and shoes.
By the way, that's becoming, that's the OG shit. And now all these coastal kids want to be grounding and have their feet to the ground, like the whole fucking nine.
Totally.
You're ahead of the trend.
Yeah. Again.
No, by the way, I believe that Maine, Vermont, hippie culture,
Totally.
like I'm a very big believer that it's ahead of the trends. It's not super complicated. The data has proven it.
Yeah. Well, the nature, right? It seeps in
100%.
to your soul.
Well, because people forget we're fucking animals.
Yeah.
Like, we're fucking animals.
Right.
And like, no shit, the earth should be part of our equation.
Right.
And I'm a good old-fashioned city boy. I love this city more. I will never leave this concrete jungle. It is my habitat.
Yeah.
But there's no confusion to me that I could benefit dramatically from some feet in the fucking sand and rubbing my fucking face in the salty ocean and fucking getting some sun in my fucking soul. Like, of course.
It's the first thing I do wherever I go is take my shoes and socks off.
And walk the ground outside, or you just inside?
I love grounding.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I do have a habit of grounding.
By the way, you know what's so funny, Mark? I've been pretty excited to meet you. Like all the vibes, like do this interview. Just getting your vibe right now makes me want to eat your seafood so bad. I'm not kidding, actually. Yeah. In a world of clean eating and all the chemicals and all the trends and gut health and all this, I genuinely feel like I'm now gonna sign up personally because it's so clear to me that you're actually picking those fucking lobsters. Yeah. And that matters.
Yeah. That's the whole...
What is the website, real quick, just for everybody else who's inspired as I am?
GetMaineLobster.com.
GetMaineLobster.com.
And it's MAINE.
Yep.
Because a lot of people type
how much is the lobster of the month? Like how much is it?
Man, I think there's one for like $150-$60. We're coming out with some more for the holidays too.
Love it.
It's a mystery box, so it's cool.
How's the business? Like how is the Maine lobster business these days?
It's tough this year.
Why? Not enough.
Fishing's down.
Why?
The guys. So the price really constitutes effort, right? So if the guys during the nice during the nice months get a really good price at the wharf, then they're going to bring in a lot more money than they would have, say, the year previous. So they can work for less amount of time, right?
And the price at the wharf is based on just consumer demand?
It's called boat price. Well,
yeah.
So consumer demand, actually it's like, think of major buyers. So think of a large grocery chain that wants live lobster at a number of its locations.
Albertsons.
So Albertsons would come in and be like, hey, I want to earmark, 200,000 pounds over the next 3 months.
At this price.
And we say, hey, $7 a pound. Like, no, $6.25 tops.
Yep.
Boom. That's the boat price right then and there.
Got it.
China will come in and say, I want 2 million pounds for Chinese New Year, and I'll pay this. Boom. Price goes up. Because they want to, some people overpay to ensure the catch.
I get it.
Right?
Makes sense.
So it's all supply and demand.
I fucking
and it changes
love it.
every day.
I might move to Maine and just trade fucking lobster. This is getting me excited.
Yeah. I have an office space for you.
Go ahead.
So,
And what's the season?
so the season is really May, June, right? All the way through December.
Okay.
Big harvest right about now, October, November.
Got
Big
it.
harvest because they want to bring it in at a good price, and then they will convert it into lobster tails, lobster meat, hold, and then we got Valentine's Day, right? So they want to try to have a nice price, until then. And you can actually hold live lobsters too. Some people have these natural, they'll take a part of the ocean and then keep their lobsters in it, a pound, right?
No
or
shit.
some people tube them indoors. So they'll have very deep indoor, serviced right from the ocean.
Holy
and
shit.
they'll tube them so they hibernate and the water is really, really cold.
Wow.
The problem with that lobster, when it gets taken to the market, it actually has less meat on it because, the lobster's got to survive. So it's eating a little bit of itself, So we buy direct right at the wharf. And we also have trusted partners that we work with where we know that they always have the best catch.
Yeah, you've been fucking in the mix forever.
Yeah, so they pre-sort it for us, or we have to sort it if we're buying direct, and then boom, right? So
How fat, when I ordered this, what am I looking at? Like, best case scenario, when the lobster comes to New York City here,
yeah,
when was it in the water living its life?
the best case scenario, day before.
Get the fuck out.
Yep, that can happen
That's
that
some
fast.
fresh-ass
I mean,
shit.
lobsters are coming in like every single morning,
That makes sense.
right? So they wake up at like 3, do their thing. They got little shanties right on the wharf, so they can do their coffee and change. And then they go out super duper early. Waters are calmer, typically in the
What
morning.
time?
They're probably out by like 4 or 5 o'clock. And they get in like 10 to noon. It depends. Those are day boaters.
Yep.
And then you got the guys that go way off. And they'll go out for a couple of days, bring back a few thousand pounds.
Wow.
And so they'll have, let's say one guy, commercial guy, has 1,000 traps. He'll try to do a quarter of them on Monday, a quarter of them,
Yeah.
So he's got a little rhythm.
Very cool.
So, but there's a lot of regulations being put on them. Well,
Is
maybe
that
not.
good or
Goes
bad?
Well,
Overbearing a little?
overbearing a little
Yeah.
because the lobstermen and women in Maine
Yeah.
actually created the sustainability laws. They are the founding
Right.
fathers and
And now the
daughters and mothers.
politicians took it to a further place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we want you to have this tracker on your boat so we can, follow you wherever you go.
Yeah, fucking government shit.
And then when we buy off the boat, we got to report it.
As if our phones don't track us. I mean, Jesus
Right?
Christ. It's ridiculous.
So they're just trying to make it more difficult.
Why?
I don't know. I think, political reasons.
Yeah.
Part of it hopefully is sustaining the
Yeah,
industry.
I
right?
I think there's validity to that, but like anything, once you get out of balance, it becomes not practical.
Well, this is the impact,
Yeah.
right? Is guys are, if you go to our wharf, you'll see more traps on the dock than you will in the water. And that's never a good thing. Now, Portland's different than northern Maine, and the coast of Maine is huge.
Yeah, no, it's monstrous.
Yeah, and so we love those lobsters up there. So those get trucked down, every
They're
morning.
even better up there, you think?
I like deep, deep water, very, very cold. It creates an environment for them to be super duper healthy. One of the things that I test for when I if anybody comes to the wharf,
Yeah.
pull a lobster out, and it goes spread eagle like this.
Yeah.
And that's a good one because he's super duper spry, lots of energy, right? So he's not lethargic or anything.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And that's how you really should.
How is the lobster commercial demand these days? Like how long have you been doing this?
15 years.
Okay, in the 15 years that you've been in the business, and obviously being up there and being in it 15 years, you've heard the war stories of the past. Where does lobster sit in people's prestige, interest? Like, where's lobster sitting these days in people's minds, you think?
It's still there. It's still
I think so.
considered a special occasion,
Yeah.
luxury expenditure,
Yep.
right? So typically, we have some customers. We just sent a survey out the other day, and there's a number of people like, hey, I eat it once a month at least, right? And there's others like
I fucking
only
love
special
lobster.
occasions. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm happy to
Has
send you
the suit? Yeah, I'm gonna be a happy customer. One more time on the website because by now I really want some of you to actually try this out and email me what you think, because I actually think the perishable item direct to consumer thing's about to explode.
Yeah.
So my take is that the gig is up for food in America, that consumers are getting quickly and rapidly educated.
Yeah.
My fiance Mona is like
And
super deep.
demanding.
Correct.
Which is gonna be awesome.
And I mean, back to Nantucket, I was there this summer visiting a friend, and they like bought these $8 pears from California, 8 a piece.
Was it good?
It was remarkable.
Yeah.
It really was. It was truly no bullshit. Not like I'm good at like kind of like, because I grew up in wine, I have this detachment theory of like, I don't give a fuck what you're telling me. I'm going to like blanket my brain and stomach and palate and just analyze it. It was remarkable. What the question is it, I don't know how much a regular pear is at the store, but is it 8 times more remarkable? That gets into, can you afford it? All this other stuff. But what is very clear to me is that people want healthier, cleaner, better product, and they're willing to pay a super premium to do it because it's your fucking health.
Yep.
And so I think a lot of shit that we buy at supermarkets now are about to be 1-2 day overnight, and we're gonna pay, if you buy, I'm gonna just use a weird one, raisins. Yeah. If you can buy a fucking box of raisins in the store for $4, I have no idea how much fucking raisins are, that, let's just use $3 because it's a good number, that a lot of people are gonna pay $9.99 a box and shipping.
Yeah. Because
they're starting to realize that paying the extra for the speed, especially if you just pulled it, if you just got it at, if a fucking, now all I wanna do, like, you fucked me up, brother. Now when I eat lobster, my brain's gonna be like, man, I wonder if this motherfucker was in the deep, deep cold. And when it hit the fucking wharf, did it fucking spread eagle? Because if it didn't, this is not gonna be as good.
Yep. Absolutely.
So anyway, I'm fascinated by that.
So when you have it at a restaurant, you say, hey, where was this caught? And then when? And how long has it been sitting in your tank or your cooler, right? Because we supply restaurants.
Yeah.
And they don't have a tank, right? So they put it in the cooler, but lobsters are resilient.
Which is why it made its way into being such a big product, right?
Yeah.
The resilience helps.
Yeah.
But if it's been in the cooler for 11 days,
it wouldn't survive 11 days.
No, it wouldn't. How
survive
long?
like 2, 3.
Oh, not long.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank God. I got scared.
Yeah. And it was like, that was kind of the origin of why I decided to do it. Because I never thought in a million years I would do lobster, but I'm in Chicago at this restaurant and they get a lobster tank on display.
So wait, in these 4 seconds when you were wearing the fucking suit in Chicago, the lobster thing started to get there?
Yeah. Well, Chicago, right?
Yeah,
they
Chicago.
can get everything.
That's right.
But I go to this restaurant and they have a lobster tank on display. And I'm looking at the water. I was like, God dang, that water is dirty. I go, I wonder if the salinity, well, no, I didn't say that in my mind. I say it now. Is the salinity right? Right? The pH has got to be there, right? Salinity. Salinity has to be right.
Yeah.
It's right pH for a North Atlantic lobster. And people are like, oh, Maine lobster. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, you want, I can bring some home next time, And then I'm talking to a guy in Bath, Maine, who owns a seafood joint. He's like, hey, I want to ship lobsters online. Will you do some research for me? Because that's what I was a consultant. I knew the internet. So I do the research. I say, here you go. There's only a couple players doing a great job. So there's plenty of room because demand is actually pretty high. And I go, however, if you don't commit to customer experience, this is going to be a real pain in your butt. Because if you ship live lobsters to Jane in Des Moines, and they arrive at 6 o'clock and she wants to cook them at 6:30, and you're already got 2 whiskeys in and you're an hour behind, she screws it up. She's going to the internet and saying,
you're a piece of
hey,
shit.
these guys suck. And you don't want that. He's like, I don't want to deal with any customers. And I said, you cannot do this business.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm living in Chicago, in Maine with him, talking about this. And I'm like, I love customer service. Why don't I do it? You fulfill my orders and we'll see how it goes. And that's how we launched.
No shit.
Yeah. So that was 2009, launched December. And then I was in Chicago.
How did you get the original demand?
Groupon, Living Social, and Guilt
that era.
right?
Yeah,
because I was bootstrapping.
Right,
That's
you were-
where everybody bought everything.
And you were you were in Chicago, where Groupon was
Down the street.
I remember it was fucking
Yeah.
the one.
I literally just went down there and said, I have lobster that I can deliver to any doorstep in the U.S.
They're like, let's try it.
They were like, oh my God. So I literally kind of built the business with them.
Of course, a lot of people did.
So I only did that for 2 years.
And Living Social was down in D.C. Aaron Battalion, one of the founders.
Yeah.
I was very involved with those companies back then.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. I mean, they had such power and juice. And I was like, it's never going to end. And it ended,
Yeah, of course.
you know.
Famous last words.
Yeah.
Okay, so that gave you the jump start.
They gave us the jump start. So
And then?
we chose to listen. What do people want? Are we treating them well enough? You know, da 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 da. And then we started getting into email marketing.
Okay.
So then we started, you know.
Your own email, or you were buying awareness on emails?
No, them. We didn't buy any emails. We used Infusionsoft.
Yeah, of
You remember
course.
that?
Of course.
Such a great tool.
Yeah.
Still is a great
Still a
tool.
good tool.
Still a good tool.
I agree.
We still have it. And then we started, you know, branching out into, you know, other marketplaces, other methods. Then we started doing ad buying, you know, da 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 da.
Social, Google,
Social, Google,
Facebook and
all
Google,
that fun
yeah.
stuff, you know.
and here we are.
And here we are. And then
What's the most challenging thing for you as a small business owner right now? Right this nanosecond.
right this nanosecond.
Or in the last 6 months.
You know-
just to share with the other small business owners.
Yep. So we grew 600% in 2020.
Wow.
And so
Oh, right.
that was really hard. And then, you know, we're this new business and now we're getting ready to scale again. So we increased our physical capacity.
So COVID exploded.
COVID exploded like,
Yeah, of course.
like that.
People weren't eating lobsters at restaurants.
And I fueled it.
You knew the moment.
I told our ad buyers, I knew in early March, my brother's birthday is March 15th, and I always do something, you know, hey, it's my brother's birthday, so it's a special deal. And it was like it was like around close to double the orders I expected.
And you smelled it.
And I smelled it. And so I contacted our ad buyers and said, no limit, do whatever you want.
Go.
And April was as much revenue as 3/4 of the year. December,
It's what they had.
in
just
3
internet
weeks,
business.
we did more revenue than the entire year. You know, it was
Yeah, of
wild.
course. Yeah, it was a once in a century event.
Once in
Hopefully.
a century an event.
Hopefully.
Now we maintained that level, right? So
Well, I think
that's
two
been the
things- yeah.
challenge.
Right. You mean the infrastructure, just like building out the company?
The logistics.
Yeah,
and
of
as
course.
you get ready to scale, we're making all these investments,
Right.
and then you have market dynamics,
Things
and
change.
sentiment, and all
Things
these
change.
things, and inflation, and like
Talk to me about the
challenges.
seafood of it all, the way you introduce yourself. It's not just lobsters. Talk to me about that.
We just launched a website called blackpointseafood.com as well, which is it's the first generation 1 seafood subscription.
Okay.
So because I'm in Maine, right, I have literally access to anything,
Right.
right?
Why
that
stop at
comes out of the
lobsters?
water, right?
Yep.
So, for example, Big Green Egg uses me for their salmon for all their major events, right?
awesome.
Which is, I'm like, yeah, our salmon's awesome. They're like, the guys are freaking out about it. So, salmon, cod, scallops, we sell a lot of
I
scallops.
love fucking scallops, bro.
Scallops are, Maine's got some of the best oysters. We got amazing oysters.
I'm more of a West Coast oyster guy.
Yeah.
I like the smaller. I mean, Maine has great oysters, but I'm more of a West Coast, like Olympia, Kumamoto.
I was just gonna say Seattle area.
I love that.
So you like
your
them
mom's
a little
your
saltier. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So my cousin has crab traps.
that's awesome.
Sorry, random thought.
No, it's
She's still
fun.
in there. She's still
That's
in
awesome.
Seattle.
That's awesome.
So yeah, anything and everything, right? So then we try to tell a story, and then we have a relationship with Jeffrey Zakarian.
Yeah,
So we're building some seafood stuff with him.
very cool.
His guy was literally texting me earlier because I didn't include the remoulade in the box, and I was like, oh, shit, can you just whip something up? Because we're doing a photo shoot.
Nice.
And but so we're working on that. Me selling seafood or beef, because I get really good beef too, is difficult because my name is Get Maine Lobster, right? So people are like, Mark has great lobster.
Right.
I'm just going to buy his lobster. Those that discover that I have really good salmon or something else, you know, they end up buying that.
Of course.
Scallops, You know, I don't know if it matters what your brand name is. People will always buy
Tell me about the
scallops.
beef. All grass-fed and finished?
So a variety, right?
Yeah.
So we have some tips that are grass-fed and then finished with
Grain.
pasture, right? Grain. And then we have grass-fed, grass finish, you know, all the way.
All the way.
Now we're talking to an outfit in Colorado that does completely grass-fed, and they got American Wagyu. And we're talking to a place down in Florida that's got pasture raised, so or pasture finished, which is
Yep.
a little bit of grain,
Yep.
but not intentional. Which he really is excited about the flavor that he's getting. And he's got Black Angus and he's got American Wagyu. And then I'm talking to a guy in San Diego who wants to do some stuff.
What's your favorite? You know, it's funny. You're such a multidimensional dude. This is actually a fun question for me. What's your favorite part to do in the business? Go look at the spread eagle lobsters. Go negotiate with vendors like this with beef. Do the social media creative to acquire customers.
Yeah.
Do the customer service email replies. Manage the people. What's your currently? Maybe it evolves through the years. But currently, what's your favorite part?
I love the customer journey. I have a file that I yell at everybody about. It's dated 6/23/22 or something. And I'm like, this is everything that we need. It's all here. This is all the answers. If we answer these, it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. Let's do this. And, you know, I love that, geeking out and looking at
Geeking
data.
out on like Mike doesn't know who you are, discovers you through a Google search,
Yeah.
gets to the website, that whole, becomes a customer, buys,
Yeah.
gets the email confirmation, has a problem solved by us, like da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, so that and like what story got him there.
Yeah, why?
And then I'm
The
working
why.
on why the story got him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
What
love
was
the-
the headline? What was the
Do you
hook?
find yourself, this is actually a fun question that I'm not going to lead the witness. Do you think you're curious?
It's funny you use that fucking word. Curiosity is the number one most important ingredient of all things.
Yeah, it's funny.
Number one.
When I tell you that, hold on, this is going to be fun.
That's so fucked up.
Team, can you guys find me a curious crane? I need a curious crane trading. Rips, do you have a curious crane trading card around? I need a curious crane. It was so funny that moment just happened. It's just listening and listening and listening. V-Friends, my Pokemon thing, my big loyal lobster, the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's so fun for me because I think everybody has their favorite V-Friend.
Yeah.
Because I think every person associates with an attribute. Oh, you guys are on fire. Thank you. It is so clear to me that you need to be a curious crane collector. I'm going to sign this for you.
That is
This is
wild.
my friend. This is the curious crane. And that is for you.
Are amazing.
You are so deeply curious, and it's so obvious to me.
Yeah.
And I think it is a true superpower.
So it's funny you say that because I've been stuck on. So sometimes, tell me if this happens to you. Something comes into your mind and you want it to just season before you even put it on paper.
Happens every day in my life.
Yeah. So,
I call it marinating.
and so the last time I had a really awesome one was at your event in Los Angeles when the guy from 11 Madison Park was talking.
Yeah.
And
Will Gadara.
yeah, Will Gadara.
And
And he actually messaged me. I was like, that's awesome. Because I was like, dude, you fucking blew my mind.
he's a great speaker.
He took what I desire to do for people to like
Yeah.
such a creative level.
The Thank You Economy,
Yes.
the book I wrote,
Yep.
is in pocket to what he talks about.
Yeah.
It is my favorite book I've ever written. Mm-hmm. It is the least successful. And it was a New York Times bestseller, as you could see.
Yeah.
But it's still,
Right.
and it's the message.
Yeah.
It's the fucking message.
Yeah.
If people understand customer service as an offense, it's game
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Not a thing you have to do.
Yeah. Well, I let that one season for. I just took like tiny notes. My daughter was with me, and I was like freaking out to her, and and then I started putting it down on paper, right? So, but curiosity, I want to develop an internal presentation for my team to talk about the value of curiosity. So when you said that, I was like,
I'm a very intuitive iguana, my brother.
yeah, intuitive.
It's funny. I talk a lot. Even in this format, I interrupt, but I'm always listening.
Yeah.
And boy, is it curious. Is it obvious to me?
The thing I
how
love
curious?
the most about myself.
Good for you. Me too. And with you, it's obvious because of your demeanor. With me, it's completely not obvious. It's actually the reverse.
Yeah.
Everybody, if people don't know me, it feels blabbermouthy. It's high energy. It's chaotic, but it's fucking listening.
Yeah. Well, you've got left and right.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
synchronicity.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
which is
My brother, a couple of minutes
rare.
left. I want to make sure I give you the floor. We'll make sure we shout out the website because I have a funny feeling a lot of people fell in love with you today and probably want to support and probably love lobster and seafood. But is there anything we didn't touch on that you were hoping we would touch on when you thought about coming down here for this event? Anything we didn't touch on?
No, this has been. I was hoping that we were just gonna like do
Jam.
whatever because that's where I love to be.
Yeah.
And this is great.
Oh, great, brother. So why don't you tell everybody, first let's tell them the websites. Let's start with
Yep.
that one last time. Everybody, I couldn't recommend more. When I tell you the emphatic emails I've gotten from the loyal lobster holders, this was a surprise thing we did for if you own the NFT, you would get this subscription for a year with his company. People are blown away, but why don't you tell everybody what are the websites one more time?
So it's getmainelobster.com. All of our socials are at Get Maine Lobster.
Okay.
And then if you want the inside, sign up for email or SMS. They always get the best deals.
I love that.
Right?
I
They
love
always
that.
get
That's
the
on the
best
website.
deals.
And what's
Yeah.
And what's the broader seafood website?
blackpointseafood.com, which, go there, but I have plans Q2 2025.
Got it. So it's still early over there.
Yeah.
When they go there.
Still very early.
Yep.
But we do have a box there, great seafood.
One thing I also know, based on everything I heard, is if you DM him on Instagram, I have a funny feeling you'll get into very deep, meaningful conversations. So that's at Get Maine Lobster on Instagram.
All socials, yeah.
My brother, thank you for being on.
Absolutely.
Continued
Thanks for having
success.
me.